was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground.
This week, guys, as our special guest, we have Ian Winningham joining us from sunny California. I'm not exactly sure where in California he is now, but out there somewhere. Ian's a friend of mine from back in my Michigan days before I even joined the Navy, when I was like kind of sort of going to school once in a while, college days. And was it Toys R Us? Is that where we first met, Ian? Or was it through our other friend Melissa that we first met?
Through a friend, Melissa, yeah.
Okay.
You guys worked at Toys R Us, and yeah.
Yeah, so Ian is in the film industry. He is what's the technical term for, it's not cameraman or photographer. Is it something more technical than that, right?
Actually, lately I've been doing a lot of assistant directing. So.
Okay, assistant director in the film industry. He was working out of Orlando at one point and then headed over to the West Coast back about 6 years ago, something like that. Is that about right?
Yeah, actually about 6 years ago.
Yeah, but so part of the reason we're having Ian on here is, besides the fact that he certainly has stories from his time in the film industry and all that cool stuff, he just got back from Burning Man. Yeah, so if you had to sum up Burning Man, Ian, for someone that has no clue what it is, what would be your basic summary of the thing?
I would say, first of all the stories you hear are wrong and also right. So that helps it out right now.
That clears it all up.
Yeah.
There's a big burning thing, I understand.
Basically what it is, I like to describe it as an art festival. I guess a brief history of it would be a guy by the name of Larry Harvey back in 1984 built an 8-foot man out in the the beaches of San Francisco and Baker Beach, and decided to light the damn thing on fire. It was on the summer solstice, and it became this big party, and for every year after that, the party just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Okay.
To the point where the city of San Francisco is like, okay, you got to take this shit somewhere else. It was 86. So then after is when it started, and then after that, they decided to they somehow found this federal land out in Nevada area. It's an old prehistoric lake bed that has like a very alkaline dust on it, but basically it's 2 hours north of Reno, so it's just nothing out there.
I know where you're talking about, actually. I almost had to go out to that area kind of for work recently, but
okay. It kind of looks like it reminds me of the salt flats, as it were, just flat, desolate land, but it's captured on either side by mountain range. So there it was just pure chaos for years, where people go out and do just radical, crazy things. It was just unprotected, just shit went down.
And I had heard that because I looked into it at one point because I was thinking about going. So I heard that it used to be pretty insane, and they actually reined it in because combination of just the insanity of it and then also damaging the ground or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, after a while, the Bureau of Land Management would see this destroyed area, and decided to put a kibosh to it. Unfortunately, people have died out there. There's this story. I would actually say, if you want to do any bit of research, one thing I would check out is there's a movie called Spark that was about the 2011 rite of passage, but they do get into a brief bit of history about it. And one of the famed artists by the name of David Best built a temple after that, and about his friend who passed away. And for during that time, they decided to actually create this actual city, this infrastructure. They actually had to have some bit of order if people were going to be joining this party. So they created this radial street pattern, and this actual full-on infrastructure that goes into it, as well as kind of like their own dogma, as it were, of like 10 principles that go into it, of like leave no trace.
Okay.
So whatever you take out there, you take it out with you.
Got it.
And it is kind of, I mean, it is a bit of a challenge in itself just to go out there. I mean, even from San Francisco, you're talking, it's a good, 6-hour drive. And for 2 hours of it, you're on a highway that has nothing in it around. So if something goes wrong or whatever, you got to figure it out and make it happen, or hopefully someone around you will help you out with it too. So
desert Southwest, there's a whole lot of nothing when you get outside cities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so they also, cut out a few things. Like back in the day, we would have anybody could bring in fireworks, firearms, things like that. Now it's, there's an entire list of things you really can't do because it's now because it's become such a tourist destination.
Yep. Right. So and I think that's what most people know about it, is that it's, I know that when I think of it, I think of a giant party in the desert is the first thing that pops into my mind as someone that's never been there. Now I know that there's much more to it than that, but that's certainly the first thing that pops in my mind, is that, it's giant party that at the end of it, they set this giant thing in the center of it all on fire.
Yes.
Is what I think of. And a bunch of people running around naked also for some reason.
It's maybe people doing drugs and running out in the, party. And yes, that can be out there. It is, I would have to say the closest to it I would describe as a bunch of like how Native Americans would have the powwows, as every person or group of people or theme camp are like kind of like a tribe. They all come out, they contribute one way or the other, to this community. And it is just, kind of free in many ways, where some people decide, okay, well, I'm going to shed my clothing and just completely be free. All right. And because it's a judgment-free zone, and yeah, you got people walking by naked, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's what my body's going to look like when I hit the age 60. All right. Then that's, but you do have,
what it is, I suppose.
Yeah, you do have giant sound camps where music is blaring, and people look at it as a giant rave in the desert. And yeah, that can be out there. But there's AA groups out there.
How do they power a giant sound camp out there? I guess they're bringing generators with them?
Oh yeah, no, it becomes a full-fledged. So it is Nevada's second largest city for 1 week of the year. Where there,
That's crazy.
Like there is a fire department, police department. There is a hospital. There is a roller rink, a post office. Yeah, post office. There's let's see what other stuff out there. That's like a movie theater. And mind you, this is now like I got involved back in 2011. Actually, I helped build and do a lot of things in 2010, but my first.
So you've been there, going on 4 or 5 times now?
Yeah, 6.
Okay, 6. Okay. That's right, 2017.
And I, one of my good friends here in San Francisco. Yeah, I live in LA, by the way, but I'm currently right now in San Francisco. And one of my dear friends was building some really interesting art. And he needed help with more bodies and things for this one project in 2011, and a bunch of us got together and helped him out with it. And we were out there a week before the actual event even opens, and it's kind of crazy.
Are you doing? So it used to be voluntary, right? Like the organization and the running of it all at one time was voluntary. Is it actually still completely voluntary? Or there's got to be paid organizers at the top of this thing at this point, right?
90% of it is actually is complete volunteer.
Okay.
Everyone, like the whole idea of this community is everyone, and it is kind of like a city, a community where people give back in one way or the other, where they're volunteering their time. I'm hanging out right now with my friend Michelle, where their entire camp actually go out and find alcohol that companies want to get off their books, and provide a bar out there. And
wow, cool.
No money exchange, but they just serve alcohol to people of age.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, they go through about 10,000 people a day. And they're this brilliant crew actually plan out the logistics of having a refrigerated truck.
Do they have a name?
District is the name.
District?
Yeah, District. Actually, if you take a look at the actual pictures of District this year, their stage is that artist I was talking about earlier, Rob Bell, that creates the Zomes. It was the first. It was his first stage that he created, and the largest structure he had built out there on the playa. So, wow. Yeah, it was a big group type thing. That effort that took. We how much did you guys raise?
Well, just over 100,000. It was $150,000 grant, and we raised about 100,000 of it.
So yeah, to create that stage. There was a Kickstarter campaign, I think, right? Yeah, it was a Kickstarter campaign. They raised $100,000 to help support this one artist to build this large, massive structure to house a DJ or DJs throughout the day, and these platforms for people to kind of dance, play, and hang out in. And and there's grants like that all over. It's supporting just different local artists and things. So
that's really cool.
Wow. So yeah, people contribute monetarily with that prior to the event. I've got friends that go out there a week early and are operating heavy machinery or building the infrastructure weeks in advance, just to make sure people have that. Some are paid, some are very skilled laborers that do things, because they can't take months away from their actual job. This has to be their job, but for a good portion of the main part of it, a couple weeks. I was gonna say is when I'm out there, and I'm just out there at GPS coordinate. Like there's nothing around. You see little flags because they do have the city somewhat mapped out in order. But the moment I land, every hour I watch that city double until the moment the actual place opens up. And as you ride through the streets, you just see different random things where it's a bunch of people are riding a banana. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Not only is art stationary, some art can be what they call art cars, where they will move around and it's like, okay, that's a giant fire hydrant driving by. There's a giant a Death Star is really cool. Somebody took a giant dome and built it on top of a bus and created the Death Star that just decided to drive by, and then you can actually climb up onto this bus and you're riding the Death Star. Do you remember the internet movie
Winninham?
Charlie the Unicorn? Somebody decided to build the entire Charlie the Unicorn Candy Mountain type experience all on one giant double-decker bus or something. And just a lot of weird shit like that. It's basically
sounds like a lot of weird shit.
People want to be eccentric and create something wild and weird that's completely different.
Burning Man sounds fantastic. It sounds a lot more like something I would enjoy than I had previously thought, based on your description. Especially watching that thing come together and being out there for a week before it's there. That sounds like actually a good time to me.
Oh, that's the crazy thing about it is like if you watch I do the same thing there. I like to volunteer for greeters, and that's basically where you meet the people that are coming in and they're their first time and they have no idea what to expect. Like, because the best way I could describe it is, think of it as now I can't think of that artist that would do the surreal paintings that were basically like the desert land where you have the weird looking giraffe and Salvador Dali.
Yeah, Dali. I was wondering if that's what you're thinking of. Yeah, Dali. Yeah. Yep.
Think about that, where it's just like you have this flat land, and then whatever you perceive to just to be out there will just kind of acquire. But it's not just your idea; it's everyone's idea. Each person has their own dream, their own piece that they're contributing to it. Well, I looked out one time and I just see this this beautiful desert and the mountain range in the background. I'm like, this is a view you'll never see anywhere else. This is so beautiful. And then a giant car penis rolls by. I'm like, yep. You'll never see that. That's awkward.
That's
or
awesome.
You'll see a ghost from Pac-Man rolling by or something, and you're just like, And then that happened.
That's cool.
And that type of thing happens all the time. So going back to what I was saying is like being at the gate, you now think about it, us adults. We're so jaded. We see so much, like there's not much that a magician can do nowadays that would really, you're like, oh, sitting there, oh, it's sleight of hand. Oh, it's behind his ear. Oh, it's in his pocket. You kind of already know or see, or you figure out like, oh, basically the guy used a bus. But for that brief moment, you watch people just regress to that moment of that child walking into Disney and going, holy shit, this is real. This is going, and I see it all the time. And I got the pleasure to do it this year. My mother got to go this year.
Okay.
Yeah. So every now you're sitting like, I just looked at Philip's look of like, okay, a bunch of 20-year-olds party and all that. Wait, you brought your mother? I'm like, yeah. Like here's this 60-year-old woman.
So
she lost her a husband in January, and she's now like having this moment of trying to find herself. What am I going to do? I mean, think about it. This is a woman that has spent her entire life codependent. She's just her only job was to make sure food was on the table. I mean, truly like the Midwest housewife of, food on the table, laundry is done, kind of thing. Yeah. Kids are set. Never had to really work or pay a bill, which is really entertaining. Having to go home like, oh no.
Although, Ian, really you always did have like the cool mom going for you very much.
Oh yeah, no, she really is the party animal type thing and all that. And
back in the day, we used to hang out. We were always down in Ian's basement, hanging out and drinking and partying down there. And Mama Ian didn't care what we were doing as long as we, were staying down there and nobody was getting hurt and we were just hanging out and having fun. She could have cared less what we were doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was always nice. I don't have the full conventional like Midwest mother. That's for
Not
sure.
Quite.
She definitely has her hippie moments. And things, and she was very cool, very lenient. But
awesome. Is awesome.
She still is. Oh yeah. It's kind of funny because like I was going to have her join me, and so she got she got a camper, and she decided I want to go do this type of traveling. And one of the things she said was, I want to go to Burning Man. I'm like, all right, shit, I guess you're coming with me. Let's go. Let's do this.
Very cool.
So yeah, and she actually got to come with me. I pulled some strings with some friends and got her to come with me a week early. And here's this old broad at 60, 61, and she's lifting wood panels and moving things and helping us pick up trash, and she's over there contributing as much as she can wherever she could, and she had herself a blast. And then she was so set with that one sound camp. And then I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go over to my San Francisco camp, the group of, the tribe, as it were, that I've known and loved for so long. We're going to go move over there. And she's like, I don't want to go over there. I'm like, you're here to meet people. We're going to meet other people. Like, this is happening. There's no. So I go and I drop her off in this one little patch of area where no one has even arrived yet. And so she's sitting in her camper, kind of pouting. And I get pulled off to go finish this art structure. And hours later, actually an entire day has gone by. It's now evening. And I'm like, okay, I got to go back and check on my mom to see how she's doing. And I look and I see my entire camp is already built. Like the infrastructure is already set. All my friends are there. And I keep hearing, dude, your mom is awesome. Dude. I come back, it's like, all right, so I guess you're fitting in. She's like, oh yeah, she's talking about next year. The event hasn't even started.
Sounds about right.
And she's already talking about how she wants to, like step up the sangria that we serve and all kinds of other shit that she wants to stand up.
That's awesome,
help
man.
Out. And yeah, it was pretty entertaining how it really does capture you. And I can talk about the partying aspect of it and all that, but honestly, you can type in Burning Man on your web browser.
Right. You'll find plenty of information about that stuff. That's what's most people know about it is, giant party out in the desert, light things on fire.
And
the two things that pop into my head when somebody mentions Burning Man are fire NATOs and surgery in a tent to put a magnet in somebody's fingers. And I'm not entirely certain that those got started there, but just all of the stories are varied and fascinating, and things that I wouldn't think of to do myself.
It is a very bizarre place. It is definitely a thing, but like I said, I see families out there. Like there's an actual like kids area out there. It's one of my friends. We were talking about the naked thing. Well, a friend of mine, he's probably about. He looks like he's maybe 100 pounds kind of thing, just a tiny, skinny guy. And one day, his girlfriend, him and I were having this conversation, this thing, and all of a sudden, and he likes to, it's called flow. He likes spinning, twirling items, like fire, basically.
Okay.
And he decided to go out and try that out. I'm gonna, it blocks him out from the rest of the world. So he decided, you know what, I'm gonna be free and do this completely naked. One time I'm out there, and
naked fire twirling.
It was a barrier he's always had. Like I've been so uncomfortable with my body and all that, and the fact that he decided to go out there and do it, not only was his fiance like, way to go, babe, but a few other people were like, hey, that was awesome. That was so cool how you did that. And it's so funny because from there on out, an absolute fear that he's had for his entire life, but being so self-conscious about his body, just washed away. And it was like this weird kind of like a person who would sit there and let spiders crawl on them that have arachnophobia. It was just this breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
So you do have those kind of things all the time. The temple is one of those things I was talking about earlier with David Best. As the man, and I really have actually, now that I think about it, I never really talked too much about the man. And I gotta say, it's really interesting because this year the man has been smaller than it has been in previous years. And I kind of like that myself, because it feels like the weird icon or deity or whatever it is that would be the center of the clock, the center of the thing, is starting to kind of disappear. And it's more of just the idea of this place that's kind of, more of taking shape, as opposed to, all of us having this giant icon that everyone, woo! There's previous years, it was this big thing where Cargo Cult, they created a spaceship and had this giant wooden platform that he stood on. And it was a giant monolithic thing, and it would burn, and it was crazy. The guy who's in charge of the fire and the actual pyrotechnics of it, his name's Dave X. He made a joke before building this thing, right after the year before, and he's like, "All right, next year we're gonna go 40% brighter and 60% hotter," and they did, and basically that was enough of that. I think we kind of reached a peak of, we saw fire tornadoes.
That's what Phil mentioned before.
We created fallout with the thing, for God's sake. So it's like, okay, let's scale it back. One year we built the man out of giant telephone poles, and it just wouldn't burn. I like to jokingly call it over-engineered man, where it's just like,
okay.
All right, just cut the damn thing down. This is like hours were going by, and people were like, fuck, there's DJ sets going on and come and gone. We all got shit to do. So it's really interesting. You have this entire week, and then come to the end of it, Saturday night, you burn this thing that's kind of like your marker. Because when you walk out, it's miles expansive, 2 miles wide, right? 2-3 miles, would you say?
Correct.
Yeah. And everything has to be lit up because it's in the middle of the desert. If you're not seen, you could get hurt. So even if you're walking, with your friends, everyone, they say you gotta put some glow on. You gotta put some lights on or something on you.
Okay, yeah. So you aren't just black on black.
Something could hit you. Something could be riding by a car, an art car, a person on a bike. Anything. Something could happen to you. So everything is just covered in LED and rope light and all that. So when you're trying to find something or trying to go somewhere, your kind of way of compass or kind of positioning is you got to triangulate. Okay, there's the man, and then you got to find some other massive art structure, usually the temple, and you're kind of like, okay, there's that. So in relation to those items, I'm trying to go that way.
Okay.
Or that way. And
got it.
And it's so funny because like I think my one friend pointed in one direction and goes, "You see that?" And I looked at him, I was like, "The shiny blinky thing?" I was like, "Fuck." Yeah,
that's not useful
because
at all.
That's what it is. Like you're just pointing out to a bunch of shiny blinky things, and you're like, "Okay, I want to go towards whatever shiny blinky thing that is." And then as you get closer, you start to realize that okay, that is a giant moving sound stage that looks like a that looks like a giant Mayan warrior, which actually is a structure out there.
So let's say that somebody's going for the first time ever. It's gonna be their first trip there. What one piece of advice would you have for somebody making their first journey out to Burning Man?
It's so funny. I joke around with a friend of mine about this, and he had this one thing. It's like the worst advice you could possibly give someone, and sometimes the best. Okay. You go out there with as little as possible. Forget about food, or if you're going to eat all your food at once, water, don't bring it. Do all your drugs at once, whatever it is, And he goes, and then you're gonna fully hit rock bottom in 2 days, and then you'll discover, compassion, humanity, because the plier provides all that. That is not the real advice. Please, people, don't go out there and do that. That is like, no.
Yeah, that sounds like horrible advice.
Yeah. Because honestly, I see people go out there and do it, and we'll take care of each other, we'll take care of our own, but let's be real, the whole point of it out there is radical self-reliance.
Right, there's got to be some personal responsibility when you're out in the middle of the desert. Everybody's out there in the same conditions as you are, so you better be able to take care of yourself a little bit.
This year, it was the hottest year it had ever been out there, or ever been recorded, and it was a very difficult year for us to build stuff, let alone just to enjoy, because during the daytime everyone's finding shade and just kind of relaxing and just conserving your energy wherever you could. Honestly, there's so many blogs, so many things out there. There's a guy by the name of Halcyon, John Halcyon. He has so many tutorials, so many tips and things out there to help someone. If it's somebody's first time out there, I would say just there's so much different research out there. I can't really give advice except for take care of yourself, take care of the people around you. You can find camps, like theme camps out there, and it's kind of like a club in one sense. You pay a certain amount of dues, and they can range in different prices, and they range with different amenities. They're what some people call turnkey camps, which are where really wealthy people will go and pay an astronomical amount to basically they're fully buying the burning experience, where they will pay $20,000 or so just so they can have everything handled for them. And that's one end of the spectrum. I wouldn't know what that's like. I'm a very blue collar guy to pay $20,000 for a week to have everything, to have my ass wiped for me. And that's not my jam. And you can have people that will just show up with just their own camping gear, their own water jugs, like that they bought at Target or so, and they just kind of camp and figure it out themselves. And it just they're a group of friends that figure it out, and it's great. And then in between, you can find well-established camps who will provide certain amenities where you don't have to bring all your water. That's part of your dues. They have especially for that, it's kind of great because if you go to a large theme camp, you can you already now have a set area where you can already meet people within that place, and they can kind of give you tips and things. If you're out there by yourself, you don't have
Mhm.
anybody to kind of give you some guidance.
Okay.
You know, so you end up figuring it out. And they, honestly, it's amazing. They're I would say, you asked who to give a shout out for. I would say the people who put it on,
Okay.
the DPW guys, the operations people, you know, all the volunteers that put everything into it, the on-site services that keep everyone else, you know, checked, and the medics and police that keep everyone, the rangers, which, you know, take care of people. You know, there's a lot that go into it, and everyone, and I mean everyone, except for, you know, like virgins come in and they're always touched, and by the end of it, you know, the first thing that's going on in their head is, what can I do next year? What am I going to, how am I going to contribute? And
I get that.
And that's where it kind of helps. And like I said, when I worked at the airport, one of the most amazing things was, you know, yeah, you have people that were kind of, you know, ornery. They want to get on their plane, get the fuck out, whatever. And believe me, I'm going to see every way possible I can get you off the goddamn rock. We don't need that negativity, whatever. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But there were certain other people that, you know, when I would ask them, like, hey, what changed? What helped? Every person has their own story of what really amazed them out there. And then the question after that is, well, what have you done to kind of give back? And it's always interesting to see people's reaction, or how they want to help, or what they did do. And I think that's part of it. I mean,
awesome. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, Ian. I don't think we got anything else. Do you have any, like, are you working on any films right now or anything like that that's coming down the line that people should go check out information on?
I've been doing some events here in San Francisco, helping out a bunch of people. You know, can't name any companies or anything like that for this, but yeah, been doing some stuff up here, and then hopefully in the next few weeks I'll be back in LA, working full time into you know, entertaining the masses in other ways.
Cool. All right. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, Ian. And
no problem, guys.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later, man.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.